Hello, good day and welcome back to my channel. My name is Oluwatosin. In case you're coming across this channel for the first time, you're welcome. So in today's tutorial, we are going to be learning how to cut a pencil dress with keyhole neckline and then a wrap at the front with frills, just the way you are seeing on your screen. The only difference is that it's not going to be having this kind of sleeve. A sleeve is going to be completely different from this. So if that sounds like what you're interested in, come along with me and let's just jump right into the video. So right here are the fabrics that we will be using. The lace is the main fabric and this is going to be the inner and also the pencil sleeve. And to cut a style like this for anybody at all, the basic measurements required to measure on the person are the full length, the bust, the waist, the hip, the shoulder, the sleeve length, the round sleeve, the armhole, the nipple to nipple, shoulder to nipple, shoulder to under our bust, then shoulder to the half length. Not to worry, I'm going to list all of the measurements on the screen. And note that this style I'm cutting is not going to be from pattern drafting to transferring to my main fabric. No, we are not going to be drafting on pattern. We are going to be cutting directly on our main fabric from start to finish. So right here, I went ahead to bring out half length. Our half length is 17. I added 2 inches allowance to the length. Then our bust is 35, and since this is the front panel, divided by 2 plus 7 inches allowance was what I brought out. So, you know, if you check this type properly, you would say that it is not a princess that bustier. It is like a straight cut bustier, a bustier that is coming from the shoulder line, not from the armhole like a princess that bustier. So to achieve that now, I'm going to measure a nipple to nipple, which is 7 divided by 2 plus half inch allowance. Then I'm going to fold that. After then, I'll mark a shoulder to nipple, shoulder to under a bust, and then I'll connect that into a straight line. And this is me right here marking out a chest line. I used, you can call it chest point or chest line, whichever way you call it is fine. I used 6 in our case, and then on the waistline I went ahead to measure 1 inch forward. Then I connected the line to our under bust line. Then at the upper part as well, I'll go inward with 1 inch, and I'm going to connect that line up to a chest line from the up. So to draw the cup now, I'm just going to draw the cup touching the shoulder to nipple line on both sides from the up and then towards the down. So this 1 inch that I marked at the waistline depends on how much cup you want. This person has more of side than the breast, like than the bust itself. She has more of side than the bust. That's why I'm not making her cup too big and pronounced. So you can go inward with 1.5 inch. You can go inward with 2 inches, but you know you must have added the allowance before bringing out the fabric. So after cutting it out, this is what I have. Moving to the back panel now, I brought out 17, which is a half length plus 2 inches allowance. Then a bust divided by 2 plus 7 inches allowance is what I still folded, just the same way I folded for the front. Then I marked 1.5 inch for a zipper allowance. Then a nipple to nipple is 7 divided by 2 is 3.5 plus half inch. I marked 4. Then I'm going to mark out a dart now. So to mark out a dart, I'm going to measure a shoulder to under a bust line, and on that point I'm going to go forward with half inch. Then I'm going to come backward or go backward with half inch, and then I'm just going to mark out the dart. The normal way we mark out that for a straight dart at the back panel. So after then, I'm going to cut it out because I don't want this fabric to scatter or whatever. I'm just going to be pinning the way I'll be joining, because if you check the style very well, it doesn't have a lining. So I'm going to pin right side to right side for one side, and then right side to the right side for the other side. For the front panel as well, I'll open up the middle and pin one side of the front to one side of the middle, then the other side to the other side of the middle. I know you guys get what I'm saying. I'm pinning from the down because I always love to start my joining from the down. It makes it easier for me. Then it is after joining that I'm going to bring out my neckline, my armhole, the keyhole neckline. I'm not going to bring them out at this point. It is after joining. So moving over to the lower part of this dress now. Our hip is 42. I added 10 inches allowance, and then I proceeded to folding that into 4, leaving the zipper allowance of 1.5 inch at the back. Then our full length is 60, our half length is 15, so I deducted 15 from 60, and what was remaining, which is 45, was what I folded as the length. Proceeding to marking out our waistline, our waist is 31. I'm going to divide that by 4, then I'm using 2 inches as my sewing allowance. From the waistline, I will measure 4 inches downward. There's something I call first hip. It is also known as the skirt waist. I consider it whenever I'm sewing a fitted dress, be it trouser or gown, as long as it's fitted and it will get to that part of the body, I consider it. So I measure 4 inches from the waistline to wherever the 4 stops is where I'll measure the first hip, the skirt waist now. So as is 36, I divided it by 4, I added 2 inches allowance, and from that point of 4, I marked 5 inches downward, and on that 5 inches, I proceeded to marking a hip divided by 4 plus 2 inches sewing allowance. Then I'm going to be connecting my allowance points together. Then I'll draw down the pencil part of the dress, depending on how pencil I want the lower part of the dress to be. Then when I was done, I proceeded to cutting it out. Then I removed the net from the edge of the fabric so that I can still maintain the edge. So basically, that is it for the lower part of the dress. Moving to the wrap now. This right here is the front piece, and it is what I'm going to be using to cut the wrap. I mean, the front piece for the lower part of the dress. I already put a notch at the middle, and then the wrap, it's entering the joining on the right. I'm going to be joining the wrap to the dress on the right, not on the left. So what I'm going to consider is, like, the way I reason when I'm trying to bring out this wrap is that I've checked very well, because I have a style I'm working towards. I discovered that the wrap is not entering the joining. I also discovered that the wrap has like 4 inches extension for the frills. So from the notch at the middle, I'm going to mark waist divided by 4, which is 31 divided by 4 now. So I'm going to be marking 7.5 1/4. Then from that 7.5 1/4, I'm going to deduct like 1 inch because it's not entering the joining. Then from that 1 inch, I'm still going to deduct 4 inches. That is 4 inches for the frills. I don't know if you guys get what I'm saying. From our waistline, from the middle, just mark as if you are ready to shape. So after marking whatever the waist is, you know that this wrap is not entering the joining at the side. So shift inward with 1 inch. After then, proceed to marking 4 inches for the frills, and whatever is remaining, just put a mark at that point. So for the lower part of the dress as well, the wrap is not as long as the main dress. So I marked 6 inches upward, and then I connected these points together. I proceeded to placing the front panel on another fabric entirely, and then I traced out that part that I marked. I hope you guys saw what I did. It is that simple. So the next I'm going to do is I'm going to measure where I want the frills to enter, like where the frills is going to be entering on the body of the dress. I'm going to measure it. It is easy for me to be able to cut out the wrap in this case because the fabric I'm working on is very transparent. All I did was just to place the fabric for the wrap on the front panel, and then I traced it out. But you know, if the fabric you are using is not transparent, you cannot just place it on the front panel. So the front panel has to be on top of it, and then you look for a way to trace it out. I hope you guys get what I'm saying. So now proceeding to measuring where the frills is going to enter, I'm going to measure from the upper part of the wrap to the lower part of the wrap. Then whatever it is, I'll be multiplying it by 2 because I need to add a little bit of pleating. So whatever I get, I'm going to multiply it by 2. So when I was done measuring, I got 42. Multiplied by 2 gives me 84. So I have to cut a frills that is 84 inches long and then 5 inches wide because I'll need allowance for attaching it to the wrap. If not, the actual length I want the frills to be is 4. So when I went to cut the frills now, I proceeded to cutting a frills that is 84 inches long and then 5 inches wide. Then I just proceeded to pinning it down on the wrap so that when I get to my sewing machine, it's going to be easy to just start sewing. Now for the sleeve, it's going to have a puff sleeve, a short puff sleeve, and then a pencil sleeve under the puff sleeve. So this is the fabric I'm using for the puff part of the sleeve. It's going to be lined so that the puff can be a little bit pronounced. This is for the two sleeves, and this fabric is what I'll be using to cut the pencil sleeve and as well as the lining and the inner also. So to cut the pencil sleeve now, all I did was just to measure a sleeve length, then I measured the armhole. I added 1.5 inch allowance. I folded that into two. I've folded for the two sleeves now. I marked out a round sleeve at the wrist. I added 1.5 inch sewing allowance, a round sleeve at the bicep region plus 1.5 inch sewing allowance. And I proceeded to marking out the armhole. Then I proceeded to cutting it out. In case you don't understand how I achieved this sleeve, I have a detailed video on how to cut a pencil sleeve for all length on this my channel. I'm going to put the link up and also in the description box. So this right here is the pencil sleeve when I was done cutting for the two sleeves. The next is to cut lining for the puffy part of the sleeve, which I already did. I just the same way I cut the flay for which I'm going to use to do the puff, I proceeded to cutting the lining as well. So because I don't want this video to be too lengthy, in my next video we are going to be joining all these pieces together. Please watch out for my next video. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in my next video.